And it is Extreme Results Radio. You're listening to Baron Baptiste and David Ruben. Thanks for joining us. And if you're interested, visit Baron's website. Baron does an amazing program, boot camps, personal transformation, the best you've ever been to, at baronbaptiste.com.
Well, thank you, David. I appreciate the accolades.
Ah, come on. You know, this is I've attended to this, and I am telling you that it is a revolutionary experience. Well, I've described it as people popping like popcorn. Like they come out of their shell and there's a whole new person there when after a period of like several days. Uh-huh. And it's because of this process that you put people through of questioning, and the essential questioning and the essential separation of fact from fiction, the stories that we tell ourselves that are woven into the pseudo-reality, the virtual reality that is our mind, the movie that is our life. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so what you were saying about when we went to the break about they're like little figurines. They're like little painted figurines, and and you just keep taking the top off, and there are more and more and more until eventually you get to the smallest one on the inside. And I think that, in a sense, though, where you begin to peel this onion of the self is to begin with the first thing that you can see about yourself, and that is, on many levels of life, we are afraid of how people will react if we speak our truth, and that we are not authentic with other people because we're so concerned about how we are seen or perceived by other people that we build a facade, we build a false life so that we can fit in with other people and be loved and accepted. And yet, at the same time, we don't love ourselves in that condition because we know we're compromising.
Yeah, well, I think that as we keep peeling away the layers, you and I have spoke about, like in Greek, are there 2 or 3 or more types of love that define love?
Yes.
But let's simplify it for this conversation. There's love of the world, love of ego, love of our smaller self, let's say, for the sake of this conversation. But that love is conditional. That love is based on other people loving us and seeing us a certain way. And it's very conditional, and usually it comes with hate. There's love-hate, 2 horns on the same head. And it's part of this smaller kind of love. Then there's a greater love that is a love of our being. And that's the greatest kind of love of all. And that love is always here. And all we have to do is dump all the illusion, right? Like you've been talking, all the stories and all the inauthenticity, all the lies.
Yeah.
And the truth, we say, okay, the truth will set us free. The truth will set us free from what? Lies. Because the lie about who we even think we are and what life is, and that's what we were talking about earlier, like we can live inside these bubbles, these illusions that are like spells. They're bubbles, but they're really lies. They're not real. And therefore, we're left with an unreality. We're left in lies versus truth, where there's freedom, where there's love, where we can really be powerful also and really flex that muscle called making a difference for others. As great teachers like Jesus have always demonstrated how their whole existence is really taking a stand for others, the awakening of others.
Yes.
Isn't it amazing? If you look at the great masters like that, a great master like Jesus, his whole reality was about waking other people up. That was his life. Isn't it? It's beautiful, isn't it, that once we get it, we have a duty to share it, to give it away.
Yes.
And we need to be effective at that.
There's an old saying that once you learn something, you should immediately go out and teach it. The problem, though, for many people is, what is the beginning now of this transformation for the individual? And that is, how do I get out of the box that I've built around myself? How do I deconstruct the world that I've constructed out of my belief system? If a person just simply begins to become aware, if you can just begin to step back and stop worrying about outcomes. Because, see, this is what I started the show about with process. When you embrace process, you stop thinking about the end result, and you start to look at what's important, the steps that you must take in order to go from A to B to C. The steps are the most important part of every journey. Most people, though, begin with an idea, and they immediately go to the end result. Like a lot of people, for example, who are into gambling. They think if they play the right hand of cards, their whole life will change. Or a person who plays the lottery. People dump millions of dollars into the lottery. There's only a few winners. There's a lot of losers. They begin with a false premise that if they do this, then that will happen. And that's not really process. That's called outcome-based thinking. And so when a person is ready to live an authentic life, they have to stop with the outcome. You have to know this. The outcome will naturally occur once I fulfill the process. And the process begins with an idea that, first of all, I have to allow myself to go through changes. I have to allow patience for myself and for other people, but always with myself first. I have to allow myself to know what I haven't known before. I have to see the truth about myself, because really that's the first truth that starts to change anything. And one of the biggest truths there is that you are in fact loved by a higher power, the creation force. And that if you weren't loved, no matter how you feel about yourself, no matter how many other people see you a certain way. Like I remember, for example, as an aside, when I was into surfing when I was young, in my 20s, I was very good at surfing, and my friends had me on a pedestal. And when I would get out in the water and I'd come in the afternoon, and there'd be guys standing around where the cars are, and they'd all come over, slap me on the back, and say, "Man, you are awesome! You're unbelievable! You're the best! You're the greatest!" And I'd say, "You don't know me." So because I knew myself, I knew what my weaknesses were. I knew what my attitudes were. They didn't see my attitudes. They didn't care about that. They only cared about telling me that they saw me performing well. And you see, that can really mess a person up, because in a sense then we become performers. Oh, you thought that was pretty good, huh? Yeah, I feel pretty good about myself now. But then you forget that there's so much more to you than just your performance. There's the self within the self that is struggling to find the meaning of life and to find the meaning of your own life. Yeah. And so it's the first truth you see about yourself that begins this process. You begin to go down the path. If you're willing to accept the first truth you can see about yourself, whatever it may be, and you don't make any judgments about it, and you don't struggle with it or resent it, fight with it, or if you don't run away from it, then there will be another truth that comes from behind that one. Because the truth is lined up like dominoes. Insights will begin to fall like dominoes once you're ready to have them.
Yeah.
Tell me your beautiful insights on that.
Well, I think that's really profound what you had just uncovered there, and it is always an uncovering, isn't it? I think that these kind of conversations, when listened to, something I've realized just on this idea of listening is there are different types of listening. I've gone into inner city communities where people are really suffering, and they really want to change their lives, and there's a type of listening there where those people, they just want truth. They don't want it sugar-coated. They really want to grow. And so they're hungry. There's a kind of hunger in their listening. It allows you to speak heart to heart, soul to soul. And then sometimes, I'm in other communities or areas where I'm speaking to people who are much more entitled and they have it all, and you speak, and there's a different type of listening there. The listening is much more dense, and there's bigger filters. They've got these big sieves that any kind of truth is filtered out immediately.
Hold that thought, because we got to take a break. It's Extreme Results Radio. If you're interested, Google Extreme Results. Don't go away. We'll be right back.